what's up? Mel Williams back. Last week's video, we talked about this book, Atomic Habits, and we talked about the 1% rule. We talked about identity and how it's better to focus on having systems rather than having goals. Again, I highly recommend that you get this book. We're basically going to continue on with what we were talking about in last week's video. So last week's assignment, I asked you guys to consider and reflect upon the man that you've been in the past as well as the man that you are today. I want you to notice things that, as far as like how far you may have grown, some of the growth that you may have achieved and accomplished since whether it was your teen years to your young adult years to where you're at now. I also want you to notice and identify the habits that you have now and the man that you're showing up today. Today, we're going to talk about going deeper into last week's assignments, okay? So I'm going to keep it very simple because I don't want to get too in the weeds. So again, the videos that I do, they're not going to be all encompassing because I don't have time to go into the nuances of everything. But the three things that I wanted to highlight: why men feel socially awkward when it comes to relationships, not just approaching women, but when it just comes to social interactions and social situations, okay? It could literally be you walking up and just talking to a woman in particular, okay? Because this is what this channel highlights, the interactions between men and women. So why are men socially awkward? Okay, a lot of times it has to do with, number one, patriarchal conditioning that teaches you to numb your feelings, okay? How can you expect to have genuine human social connection and interaction if you're conditioned by a belief system that tells you that you need to numb how you feel, you need to hide how you feel, and the only legitimate feeling that you can express and show is anger, okay? Because you have to be a leader. You can't show any other emotion or feeling other than maybe rage and anger. How do you expect, bigger picture, to be able to genuinely connect with people and another human being in an intimate relationship? Okay, a lot of men don't think about that. You just think that in order to show up as a man that a woman might want, you have to be able to show a strong, stoic face. And you can only express anger, otherwise you'll be seen as weak. Okay, that is a lie. Again, you're not going to be able to genuinely connect with another human being on all levels if you're basically limiting yourself and your actual human range of emotions to basically a robot and basically being programmed to disconnect. Okay, you're basically disconnecting from self, you're disconnecting from your own authentic, genuine, true feelings and thoughts. That's basically what patriarchy is teaching you, and it's conditioning you to disconnect from your actual true self and your true feelings, and to not know how to express those things when it comes to an adult relationship, okay? And that is not good. So the first thing we want to talk about is that you were taught to numb your feelings. It's going to create an identity crisis, and this is going to create inexperience and insecurity within you when you try to date women, approach women, talk to women, when you're in a relationship, whether it's short-term, long-term, when you are disconnected from yourself because you are told that you cannot genuinely, authentically express yourself because you will be seen as weak and X, Y, and the third, then that is going to lead to you, again, avoiding doing that. So that's going to lead to you feeling insecure and being inexperienced with how to actually have healthy conversations, express yourself in a healthy way, let people know how you're feeling, and feeling that you're going to be accepted and not be seen as weak, okay? So hopefully that makes sense. I want you to identify areas of your life, experiences that you may have had, where you basically downplayed or hid your true feelings, and how did that result? How did that end up impacting you as well as the situation? The second reason why men are socially awkward is that you guys are conditioned, again, by patriarchy to see everything as a competition and a challenge. So when you see everything as a competition and a challenge, then you're probably going to be walking on pins and needles and eggshells the whole entire time. When are you actually going to relax and actually get to enjoy, instead of feeling like you're constantly having to defend your spot, to, be a defender, protector, whatever the case might be, if everything is a competition and a challenge? Even the woman that you're in a relationship with, oftentimes patriarchy conditioning tells you and conditions you to treat that relationship as a potential threat and a challenge to your authority, to your leadership, which is really control. And again, I break that down in my book, the different terminology that patriarchy uses that confuses a lot of men. So definitely check out my book. if you haven't already. But you want to make sure that you understand the effects of the conditioning that oftentimes patriarchy comes with. That again, a lot of us, we don't even pay attention to it because we're born into it, and it's just so normalized that we don't even think about it. We just think that, this is just who we are, this is how I was raised, this is, what I see everybody else doing, this is the social norm. And we never step back and question, well, why is that? Where did I learn that? Where did I pick that up from? Why do I feel threatened or emasculated if a woman is, able to speak her mind and to have an opinion? Okay, a partnership is about two people being partners, equal partners. Nobody is subordinate or submissive to one or the other. It's an equal partnership. And yet we have an entire patriarchal system that is built on a man expecting a woman to be submissive and to be more so quiet and not really stating an opinion out of fear that he will be challenged and emasculated. Okay, so how can we expect to really build and expect to have a good outlook as men? How can you expect to have a good outlook on approaching relationships and women if you're constantly feeling that there's going to be competition and challenge to your authority under patriarchy? How can you really expect to have a good experience and to be able to enjoy it? Okay, and we're talking about true, genuine, authentic partnership that's healthy, that's, something that both people are happy and mutually benefiting from and that are happy to go home to. That's what we're talking about here on this platform. Anything else? Not interested in discussing that. To each their own, but we're focusing on people that actually want to experience happy, healthy relationships with one another because it's genuine and authentic, not because it is manufactured and not because of any other reason. And the other problem with seeing everything as a competition and a challenge that I have here in my notes is that a lot of men are going to fall into either one of two extremes. Either you're going to play it cool and be the bad guy, or you're going to be the awkward nerd. Okay, so what does this look like? If you feel that everything is a competition and a challenge, then, for example, the guy that plays it cool and that's, the bad guy, so to speak, like they're going to see women as a challenge. Like, this is a game that I need to conquer and see how many women I could sleep with. And basically, it's a form of getting external validation from whether women find you worthy enough to talk to and to sleep with. So what does the bad guy, cool guy do? He downplays his feelings. He acts like, everything is cool, and he's not honest about his genuine feelings and intentions. And sleeping around is just a way, again, for that external validation. And he doesn't feel, oftentimes, if they are honest and they'll admit it, they don't feel good about having random meaningless sex with a bunch of strangers. What they really want is to have a connection, a meaningful connection with someone special. Okay, if we're being honest. All right, then the awkward nerd. The awkward nerd is going to be more so struggling with the insecurity and experience that we talked about earlier. They're going to feel like they're not good enough. Like, I'm going to fail at this challenge, that there are other people out there, the bad guys, the bad boys that are, more competitive. They have a better competitive edge than I do. They're cooler than I am. X, Y, and the third. I'm not good enough. So they're on the opposite end of the spectrum. Okay, so this is the problem when men approach, they're conditioned, and when you approach from this mentality that this is a game. Dating is a game. Everything is a competition. Everything is a challenge that needs to be conquered. Like, you're not going to be able to experience happiness and success in relationships if you approach with that mentality. You're constantly going to feel like your territory is being threatened or at risk. X, Y, and the third. It's just not the right frame of mind to have. And you're going to develop habits like we talked about. You're going to develop those unhealthy habits that's going to reinforce that being the results and the lifestyle that you live. That's not what we want. I actually have 4 points, and this is the third one. No buy-in. Okay, the reason why men are struggling with social awkwardness is because you have no buy-in from women. All right, again, so many men are conditioned by patriarchy that teaches you that women are something like an object to be conquered, not actual people that you build genuine connection and partnerships with. Okay, and so when you approach relationships and you don't see women as, again, viable partners, legitimate, autonomous human beings, then it's going to create these problems that we see happening right now in the patriarchy culture and society. You don't have her buy-in, you don't have her consent. So how do you expect to actually reap the benefits and the full rewards and benefits, if you will, of being in a partnership and a relationship if you don't have that other person's buy-in? If you have their submission, then again, oftentimes it's not going to be something that's often of their own free will. Okay, and if it is, then there's always going to be this muted, this what's the word I want to say? There's always going to be this inauthenticity, because again, it's not going to be them. They're going to be submitting to whatever it is that their partner wants. All right, and that's just not going to be genuine and authentic, because it's not genuinely them. They're just basically becoming a shadow of what the other person who's dominant wants in that relationship. Okay, and that's not true partnership. That is what patriarchy promotes. So I want to give an example. I was walking in a parking lot, and this older gentleman pulled up to me, and he was like, "Hey, can I make a joke with you?" And he basically made his little joke, which was lame to me. And, we laughed, and then he drove off. All right. But basically, the point of that small little story, that small little 1% interaction, is that he asked for my buy in. He didn't just drive up and yell some lame joke at me and then drive away. He actually was coming up, pleasant, laughing, and he was like, "Hey, can I make a joke with you real quick?" And then he made his little joke and then drove off, and we both had a good laugh. And it ultimately ended up being a good interaction. Rather than being weird or creepy, it actually ended up being a good interaction. Why? Because he did that one thing. He asked for my buy in before he even started. And that's what a lot of men are also messing up with when it comes to even just approaching women and dating socially. All right. You need her buy in. You cannot continue an interaction with a woman and expect it to go well if you do not have her buy in. And patriarchy is conditioning men to believe that you can proceed without her buy in, that if you get rejected, that you should continue to be persistent, that you continue to follow her, that you continue to stalk her. Like, no. How can you expect to have good results and good interactions with women if you do not have her buy in? And that cannot be forced. All right, the fourth and final thing that I have here, the reason why men are struggling being socially awkward with women, is that hate and bitterness that is taught by patriarchy. And again, a lot of men are stubborn with it because a lot of you don't know anything different. Even from your own experiences, if one woman, rejected you, and this is stuff even from like kindergarten, like you guys carry that resentment and that hate and that bitterness from basically that moment way back when, okay? That's not healthy, and it's not going to help you develop the lifestyle habits that you need to develop and ultimately reach your goals. Okay, you're going to be stuck in the cycle of being miserable and failing in your approaches with women because of that one experience if you continue to allow it. It is easy to blame and hate, and you need to ask yourself why. Okay, like the book says, and like I say all the time, where do your beliefs come from? Okay, you need to really examine that. You need to get really honest, really serious, and like the assignment that we talked about last week and that we're going to continue for this week, using this video to layer on to that and to hopefully give some deeper insight into your responses and your experiences with yourself. What you really want to do is to really pick apart the person that you've become to this day and identify the areas that need to be reinvented, that need to be worked on, that need to be developed and improved more, that need to be better understood by you more in order for you to reach your goals, I will say. But not just that, not just the goal of again getting better at relationships and approaching women, but also the goal of becoming, okay, the goal of becoming the man that you need to be in order to achieve the lifestyle with a woman, with a relationship, with maybe a family that you want to have. So that's going to be it for this video. Again, I don't want to make these videos too long and too loaded. I really want for you guys to focus on for these first two videos. If you are a man that is serious about learning how to improve your connections and interactions with women, having a better, healthier, happier relationship, having a better, positive, more better outlook on relationships with women and dating in general. Like, I really want you to take this seriously, okay? Like, if you really want to have better experiences with women, it starts with self. And that is great news because that means that you don't have to go out and invest a whole lot of money in anything. You just need to start with yourself and be honest with where you're at and where you want to go. So again, we want to focus on the things that you need to unlearn, the things that you need to identify, and that is why I wrote this book. Okay, I wrote this book to help men understand the current environment that you are in, that we are all living in, and how that is impacting your quality of experiences, the quality of your relationships with women today. Okay, it is no secret, for the longest in history, men have had identified roles as, leaders, protectors, being strong, X, Y, and the third. All of those things, they fit into a certain social context of that time and of that era. And now, as we are evolving and hopefully continue to evolve more, it is going to require men to take on a new identity. It is going to require men collectively to go deeper. Okay, the old identity, the patriarchal system and identity, it did not require you to have emotional intelligence. It did not require you to have emotional depth. And that is unfortunate, because as human beings, that's just like a natural part of being human, is that we have emotional depth, because we are not robots. Okay, we're human beings. So the past order, the past patriarchy society, it literally requires men to not be human. It literally requires you guys to numb yourself, to again just not be human. And that's why I wrote this book, to highlight, to help you guys identify the patriarchal structures and conditioning and beliefs that is leading you to really ultimately fail in relationships when it comes to connecting with other human beings, whether it's another man, whether it's a woman. Because again, these principles, like being human, men and women, we're both human, and we are going to have the same, some things in common. Okay, when it comes to human emotion and experiences, those are things that we're going to have in common. It's not going to necessarily be unique and specific to men or women. So the whole masculine and femininity, I don't really subscribe to that, because again, at the end of the day, there are just certain things that we're going to have in common as far as being human. Okay, the range of emotions, that's going to be just a human thing. Okay, so there's not going to be that men are more masculine or women are more feminine. There's already concepts that, hey, these energies, both of them exist in both men and women. So again, it goes back to, we are human, and there are just certain common experiences that we're all going to be able to relate to. And that's the harm of patriarchy society, when it tries to create these boxes and put men and women in these respective boxes. And so ultimately, what systems, belief systems like patriarchy and even religion seeks to do is to really undermine your identity. Okay, it really seeks to undermine your identity, how you identify as a man, how even women identify as women. It really seeks to attack that and to really control and manipulate that, because once a belief system has control over how you see yourself, whether you see yourself as a man or not, whether you see yourself as a woman or not, whether you see yourself as good, righteous, upright, as living a holy life, or whatever it is, okay? However you see yourself, however you identify. Once a belief system has control of that, like it's discussed in this book, and like I break down in my book as well, once a belief system has control and conditioning of how you see yourself and how you approach life, how you show up in life and in your interactions with other people, then it's game over. Okay, you're not in control, and you're really just a puppet, going day to day, moving through the motions, going through life, and then wondering why you're miserable, why you're not happy, why you're not able to genuinely, authentically connect with other human beings and people, and why you feel like you're a repeated failure when it comes to relationships and approaching women, especially in a patriarchal society that conditions you to not see women as equal parts human, to not treat women as human beings. So think about that. Think about the 1% areas of your life that you can identify right now, the small little habits, whether it's the way that you talk, the things that you say, the things that you believe, the way that you show up, the habits that you have, what you do, like what makes you you? What are the routine habits that make you you, that you can identify? And is it aligning with the type of relationships that you want to have with a woman, and even with maybe a future family? Is that the man that you want to show up as? And if it's not, then you're identifying areas where you want to work on, and that's good news. So keep working on the assignment from last week. Again, use this video and the 4 points that we highlighted on why men are struggling with social awkwardness. If it related to you in any way, really kind of use those examples that I gave and those points that I made to dig deeper into your own personal life and experience. Map it out, and let's get to the root of why you are struggling with social awkwardness, why you feel uncomfortable, why you maybe don't feel worthy, maybe why you feel frustrated. Let's talk about that and get to the root of that, because ultimately my goal is to help more men to really get better, okay? Not just confident, but to actually do the work to actually improve and to actually live lives of the men that are, better and prepared and ready to handle the responsibilities that come with the relationship and with having a family. All right, I'll see you guys in my next video.